Buckle up for a new episode of Bumpaholics, the one and only podcast made to teach you all stages of the arrival of a baby, before, during, and after. So whether you're an expecting mother, have questions about fertility, having difficulty with lactation or postpartum, you're sure to learn something from our experienced doulas when you listen to Bumpaholics. Today, we're going to dive into pregnancy week 13 with me, Brittany. So join us in the comment section for today's episode of the Trimester Journey. Welcome to another episode of the Trimester Journey. I'm Brittany Brownell, certified birth and bereavement doula, certified birth photographer, director, and volunteer at KC Women's Ministry. Mother of 3, soon to be mother of 4. So this week, I'm told that I've been showing for a little bit, but I feel like this week I'm really starting to show, and I'm really starting to see more of a baby belly rather than just a fat belly. So yeah, that's pretty fun that way. Instead of just looking at myself in the mirror and being like, oh, I look like a giant whale. I'm overweight and need to fix it. I can look at the mirror and be like, okay, there's a baby in there. There's a reason I'm gaining this weight in these places that I don't necessarily want to gain weight, and continue to gain weight in my stomach. So that's always fun. So this week I had my first appointment with my midwife. It was actually more of a consultation than an appointment. Most midwives in the area offer that initial consultation, so you can meet them, see if you really kind of mesh, and if you want to hire them. It's really ideal to meet with a few and make sure that your personalities are going to go together, that your theories on birth and what your expectations are meet with each other, that they balance, so that you don't feel like you're fighting with your provider or your provider's not listening to you. So go meet a few midwives. That's the great thing about a midwife. You can do the same thing with an OB, just so you know. I had actually met with another midwife a few weeks ago, but I didn't really feel that click that said, yes, this is my midwife with that first appointment. But I did feel that with this particular midwife, and thankfully she made some space and took me on as a client, as a patient of hers. So yay. While there, we had a great talk. I actually mentioned that I was struggling with some heartburn already. Well, not struggling. I was just starting to get heartburn. I'm not really struggling with it. But she recommended some papaya enzymes. I had never heard of these before. So I went out to Sprouts, and I went out to Sprouts and I found them, picked them up, gave them a try. Oh my gosh, they're amazing. Well worth the money. Hopefully this bottle lasts for a little while, because I don't get them. It seems to really have cut out a lot of the heartburn. So I was taking them a little more frequently at first, and now, I'm getting less and less heartburn. I'm having to take it less and less. So it's almost like it balanced something out, and it's just amazing. I'm so glad to not have that heartburn. It's actually helped with some nausea too. When I start feeling a little nausea, I take those papaya enzymes and it seems to go away pretty quickly, which is also mostly non-existent, along with the heartburn, both nausea and heartburn, since I started taking these papaya enzymes. So this week, the week 13 is officially the last week of the first trimester. Whoa, can you believe it? We are coming up on the second trimester, which is the best trimester of pregnancy. It's the least uncomfortable, with the least amount of symptoms, so to speak. So awesome. I put a link to a video Madison and I did about what to expect during the second trimester in the comment, in the description box. So go check that out and learn a few things as we progress. It's always good to learn what's coming, as well as about each week individually. So go check it out. Something fun to look forward to some food cravings or some aversions. You might also find that you have some swollen breasts or tender breasts. Maybe your nipples are tender. The breasts might be fine, but maybe the nipples are a little tender. You might find that you're having some more constipation. Honestly, that's nothing new for me. I've had that all along. It's actually kind of gone down a little bit in these last couple of weeks, which is awesome. Probably because I really increased my fruit and vegetable intake. So that's always helpful. But something else to look forward to is an increased sex drive. So unless your provider recommends pelvic rest, sex during pregnancy is totally normal and safe. So go show your loved one how much you love them in this very physical, intimate way and feel comfortable about it. During this trimester, you'll also start to show more. Like I said, I'm starting to pop out and feel like I'm pregnant rather than just fat. You're also going to start feeling baby's movements. So if this is your second or more pregnancy, you'll start showing sooner. So you might actually have already started showing. You also start feeling that movement sooner. You can kind of tell the difference between a gas bubble versus the baby flutter, especially when you've had more than one pregnancy. I feel things, but I still kind of chalk them up to gas bubbles unless I'm leaning forward and putting pressure on my stomach, and it's a pretty good sized movement from the baby. If it's a big movement, then I don't necessarily even have to be putting pressure on it to really tell that, oh, that's the baby. But baby's still really small and there's still a lot of room around baby right now. So it's definitely more typical to feel that movement closer to 16 to 24 weeks rather than this early at 13 weeks, especially for a first-time mother or parent. All right, how big is baby? This week, baby's about 2.5 to 3 inches long. It's about that big, maybe that big. That's still so tiny. Look at that. It's about the size of a jalapeno pepper or a little pea pod. Baby weighs about 3/4 of an ounce. They're tiny little baby. They look like babies now though. They look less like little pig aliens. Those fingers that we talked about last week are really starting to separate. So they were webbed for a while, both fingers and toes, but now they're starting to not only separate, but they're starting to get more definition and they're developing fingerprints. So your baby has an identity now. Your baby can be identified. So let's just go fingerprint that baby now. The bones are beginning to form and they're getting stronger this week as well. So make sure you get plenty of calcium and vitamin D, which helps your body absorb the calcium. Vocal cords are developing this week. So if your baby were to be born, not a good thing, but if they were to be born, they could cry. They can let you know they're hungry. Those vocal cords are what you're going to hear a lot in the weeks after you have your baby. So this week, like I said, baby looks more like a human, especially the lower body parts are starting to catch up in size and shape and definition as the head. So the head was the big focus in those early weeks, but now your baby has an abdomen that's about the same size as the head this week, which is awesome. They're a little more balanced out. All right, your nutrition this week. Let's talk about this. So remember, it's important to drink plenty of water. It's actually recommended, the recommendations have changed. So it used to be 64 ounces. The recommendations have changed to 96 ounces now for a non-pregnant person. And for a pregnant person, 115 ounces. That is about a gallon of liquid for the day. A gallon of milk, that's how much water we should be drinking. Whew, that's a lot of water. So my cup here is 32 ounces. It's about 3 to 4 of these a day. I'm doing pretty good at getting 3. Sometimes I get 4. Well, Reddit, I'll just take a drink while I'm showing you. That's a lot of water. I kind of intersperse that with some herbal teas or not Sprite, not soda. That doesn't count those. It's specifically water. Meeting that amount of water does mean you might have to decrease your soda, your coffee intake, and other types of beverages that are not water in order to reach that massive 115 ounce amount. All right, so it is recommended to decrease the amount of caffeine that you're drinking to 1 to 2 cups. And that's not like a normal coffee cup. We'll get milk in a little bit. It's about 8 to 12 ounces per day of coffee, around 200 milligrams of caffeine a day. Yes, Bobby, put it down. So you should also be trying to reach 60 to 90 grams of protein per day. My midwife actually said it's closer to 80 to 100 grams, which is about 5 to 10 grams every 2 hours. So remember, protein, please. Protein is the building block of cells, and that is what's going to help your baby continue to develop and grow. And it's going to help your body stave off hunger and help you not eat basically junk food by making sure it has what it needs to do the work that you're putting it, that it's needing to do. So things like lean meat, poultry, fish, those are great sources of animal protein. Some other options are beans, peas, nuts, seeds, and other soy products as a plant-based protein. You should also reduce processed food intake, such as deli meats, hot dogs, dry sausages, raw fish. Can be heated to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. So I put an article down in the description, down in the description, that goes into more detail about why a pregnant person should avoid the deli meats. But most of it is based on bacteria and illnesses. So this week, I had my first official appointment with my midwife, and she gave me a lot of this information, which I am passing on. And she was great. So during that appointment, of course, she said eat lots of rich leafy greens, dried apricots, pistachios, pumpkin seeds, legumes, and to cook in a cast iron skillet to ensure that we're getting the iron intake. She gave me an herbal tea blend, which is actually what I'm drinking now and can be used for your water intake, which is 1 part nettle leaf, 1 part red raspberry leaf, half a part of alfalfa leaf, and half a part of oat straw. I'll do a video later that goes into more details as to the benefits of each of these items. There's a lot of information out there already about red raspberry leaf. You can go to evidencebasedbirth.com to read a full article on it. Just research on Google, evidencebasedbirth.com and red raspberry leaf. She's got a few articles that come up. But basically, I really enjoy this tea. It actually reminds me of Lipton tea, and it is non-caffeinated, so I don't have to worry about caffeine. I'm supposed to drink 1 quart a day. I have a pitcher that is a 2-liter pitcher, so it's basically 1 liter worth. A quart and a liter are pretty similar. So it's about 36 ounces. I drink 1 cup of these, 1 cup of this a day of that tea. I like to do 1 thing of water first and then a thing of tea. And I usually get that down by lunch and have another 1 to 2 cups in the afternoon and evening. Again, I mean, it seems like a lot, but I'm making it work and managing it. And I really like having something different than water to drink. It really helps me hit those intake goals rather than just always having the same thing. A little cramping is pretty common and it's totally fine. If it's really intense or if it doesn't go away after resting, it's probably time to call your provider and talk about those cramps that you're having. So some next steps, if you haven't already, research those tests that I mentioned last week. You'll be doing the diabetes screening and the GBS testing later on in pregnancy, and it's really worth knowing your options. So go take a look at those. Have you identified what kind of provider you want? Have you made an appointment? Have you weighed your pros and cons of each provider? There's a new video out that Madison and I did that discusses pregnancy care providers. So if you haven't already, go take a look at that. I will make sure it's linked below for you. What about birth support and postpartum support? Have you thought about your labor process and what kind of support you might need? You still have some time, but it might be worth starting to think about what you want and what you need during your labor and birth, and if a doula is a right step for you. So go check out the podcast, What is a Doula? I put that link again in the description. So go check that out and find out if you think a doula is right for you. If so, Casey Women's Ministry is more than happy to support you through your labor and delivery and through your postpartum time. All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode of Bumpaholics. Again, you can find more information at caseywomensministry.org on our organization. Thank you so much for joining us today for this episode of Bumpaholics. You can find our videos on YouTube and just wherever you can get your podcasts. We have the audio recordings available. If you haven't already, send us a comment, like our page, like this video, subscribe to our page so you don't miss any future episodes. We do post a new episode every week, so come back and visit. We love having you here. Goodbye. I'll talk to you again soon.